Today we're making a summer corn and roasted poblano chowder.
This is the short, heavily edited version of this video. For more tips and discussion, click on the tag at the top right. That'll connect you to the longer version of this video. You might find it helpful to look at the list of ingredients in this video's description. Here we go.
Corn chowder is a very popular dish in the summer. Today we're going to make it a plant-based roasted poblano corn chowder. So there's a few things we have to do before we get started. So I already have a few poblano peppers already sliced into big planks. I'm going to go ahead and broil these in the oven on a low broil. Okay. The poblano peppers have come out from under the broiler, so we're setting those aside. So one other thing you're going to need to do is take the kernels off of 6 ears of corn. Okay, and then I've already cut the kernels off of 5 other cobs of corn. And the last thing we need to do to be ready to start cooking is make a cashew cream. The basic recipe for a cashew cream is raw cashews, or basically unroasted cashews. You want to take them ahead of time and soak them overnight, or if you forget, like I do, to soak things overnight, then boil them. So take your cashews and put them in much more water to cover maybe a few inches above, and let it come to a boil and cook them for about 10 minutes, and then let them sit aside and cool, and you'll have nice big plump cashews. We started with about 2 cups of cashews, but once they've soaked or boiled, they actually plump up, and it's more like 3 cups of cashews now. So pre-soaking it would be about 2 cups, 2.5 cups. And we're going to add just enough water to cover. This is going to make a really thick cashew cream. You could thin it down a little bit, but play with it. You can even thin it down after you've made the cashew cream. If it just seems too thick to you, just add more water and whirl it up again. Perfect. Okay, so you want it to be the consistency of a very thick dairy cream, because it's going to be used to thicken up our soup and make it really creamy and delicious. See that it's a very thick consistency, very creamy, kind of like a gravy almost. And we're going to need about 1.5 cups of that cashew cream for this recipe. I also have 5 cups of a no chicken broth that I've made. I like to use better than bouillon because I can actually control how much sodium goes in it that way. So 1 teaspoon to 1 cup of water actually is a lot of sodium. So you could decrease that. So we just need 5 cups of that already prepared. Okay, so we're going to start with a nice hot stock pot, and I am not going to be cooking in oil. So I will be using some broth I've already made, just a little bit of broth. It's about 3/4 of a cup. And we'll go ahead and add that to the pot and let that heat up a little bit. Okay, the broth is starting to steam, so it's getting nice and warm. And what we're going to do is add some Vidalia onion or sweet onion, and you need about 2 cups of that. So the broth is starting to simmer, so that's perfect. We'll add our onion. We also have a couple of large carrots diced, and a stalk or maybe 2 of celery. I also have some peppers. We'll dump those in. And then I'm going to add some, this is actually jalapeno, but it's red jalapenos. You can see how beautiful that is. I'll add about half of that. So this is about 2 red jalapenos. Mostly, I mean, it'll give it some flavor, but it's also for color. It's just really pretty. So we'll stir that around in here for maybe 8 to 10 minutes and let the vegetables all start to soften. If the broth evaporates, you can go ahead and just add a little more broth. Okay, these are just about done. The vegetables are getting soft. and it smells really good. I'm going to add some chipotle pepper powder and some smoked paprika. So the chipotle pepper powder, oh, it smells so good. So maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon to 1/4 of a teaspoon, up to you. And then the smoked paprika, probably about the same amount, 1/8 of a teaspoon to 1/4 of a teaspoon. Okay, now we're going to add the broth. So I have 5 cups of broth that I've already warmed. Pour the broth in. And I have some potato. So what I am using are these small new potatoes, about 1.5 cups of potato. And then, for even more flavor, we have some fresh thyme stems. And I'm just going to throw 2 whole thyme stems, just throwing the whole stem. We're going to bring this up to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we'll bring it back down to about medium to medium-low and let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes because you want your potatoes to be cooked all the way through. The potatoes are also going to give our soup a little more thickness. While your soup is cooking, because you have 10 to 15 minutes to make sure those potatoes get nice and softened, in the meantime, our poblano peppers have cooled down enough for us to cut them up. The poblano pepper is very charred, and we just want to pull that papery, charred skin off the outside. Okay, so I've already pulled the charred skin off all the rest of it, and now we're just going to dice it up so we can add it to our soup. You want diced pieces. In the meantime, our soup is coming to a boil. It smells incredible. And then we'll turn that down. Now that it's boiling, we'll turn it down to simmer, and we'll let that simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes while we keep going on dicing our roasted poblanos. We're going to check to see if the potatoes are tender enough for us to keep going with the recipe. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of potato, push it up against the edge of the pot and smash it. Oh, yep, it's smashed. So then they are cooked. So you can go ahead and do that with a few of them, and that will help thicken up the soup a little bit more. And what we're adding now is all that corn. So this is 6 ears of corn, and we'll dump that in. And then we're going to add 1.5 cups of cashew cream. We're going to let that cook for probably about 10 more minutes, but you don't want to bring it to a boil at this point with the cashew cream in it because we don't want that cashew cream scorching on the bottom of the pot. So when that's cooked up completely, we'll just finish it off with some nice fresh cracked black pepper. And we can also go ahead and add our poblano peppers. And I'm putting about 1.5 poblanos into our chowder. Summer corn and poblano chowder. Yum!
Yeah, thank you for watching. If you'd like a lot more helpful hints and details, please click on this video.
Click at the top left for videos that we have found to be very important.
Glad to have you on board.